The last 4 times we've been talking about this idea of these irrefutable laws of making decision making that come out of Philippians chapter 2, verse 12. That's really all the farther we've gotten. We'll look at verse 13 today. Maybe we'll get to 14. I don't know. I guess it's not really about a sprint. It's about a marathon, and we're just trying to really see what God has for us as we talk about these irrefutable laws of decision making that bring about God's joy in our life and less destruction, more good things happening in us. So today we're actually looking at verse 13, and we're really talking about how God has a purpose and plan for your life. My wife and I, Jackie, she and I pray over our family our whole walk in the morning. And we were talking about one of our kids, and I said, God, you have made them. The Bible tells us that they are fearfully and wonderfully made. And afterwards she said, Scott, what does it mean to be fearfully and wonderfully made? And I said, well, I take that to mean that God didn't randomly choose us or didn't randomly make us, but there was real thought and intentionality that went into that. So we're going to talk about that today. I hope you stick with me to the end. I think you're going to find that this is going to bring about some real joy as you make decisions going on in your life. Hi, my name is Scott Gossenberger. Thanks for joining me for 7 Minutes of Truth. Today we're looking at the fifth irrefutable law. Fifth and final irrefutable law that we have coming out of Philippians chapter 2, verse 12. Let me read the scripture first, verse 13, and then I'll give you the irrefutable law that comes out of that. It looks like this. For it is God who works in you to will and to act in order to fulfill his good purpose. So Paul just said, work out your salvation in fear and trembling. Why do you do that? Because God is working out his purposes in your life, or at least he wants to work out his purposes in your life. So what's the law of choice of your choices? What's the law of decision making that comes out of this? It looks like this. We need to choose God's purpose over our persuasions. So choose God's purpose over your persuasions. We all have persuasions. Some people might call them desires. And Paul says, work out your salvation in fear and trembling because God has a purpose for your life. And that's really what he says. And if we're going to make good choices that bring about God's joy in our life, we need to choose God's purpose and sometimes deny our persuasions or deny our desires. Years ago, I was at a church, and it was a really difficult situation. Some people might call it toxic. I wanted to get out of there. I remember calling the denominational leaders, and I said, hey, I think I'm ready to be a senior pastor. I need to leave. I need to get out and do this on my own. They sent me to a church in La Habra. It was a first-generation Hispanic neighborhood. I speak zero Spanish. The people that were there were, I would call them hyper-Pentecostal. Now, I believe in the gifts of the Spirit. I believe God still does miracles. I still believe that the gifts operate today. But they took it to a whole nother level. And that was not me. I'm much more conservative. I'm not as demonstrative in my expression. I knew in my heart I should not be there. I mean, I just knew that it was a bad fit from the beginning. I remember waking up the next morning, praying about it, and I just wanted out. I wanted out of my current situation, and I saw this as an opportunity to get out. So this is going to sound bad, but I took a deck of cards and I said, God, if there's an ace, when I cut the deck, then I know I'm supposed to go. Sure enough, there was an ace. Well, I mean, that's a random chance. So I made the decision to go, and lo and behold, it was the worst decision I made. It was terrible. I made a terrible decision. And I was only there for 11 months, couldn't wait to get out of that situation. So I left the frying pan and got into the fire. So what are we saying here? What I'm saying is, yes, we have a purpose, but I was being driven by my desire to get out of one situation, and I put myself into a bad situation. We can all be driven by our desires. We can all be driven by our persuasions, and we can easily kind of wrap a spiritual bow around it to make it God's purpose. I would encourage you to do this. Step back, look at God's purpose for your life. And that's a whole nother 5 session discussion. But if you can just kind of find God's purpose, whatever that might be for your life, find God's purpose and then make decisions based on that purpose, not on your desires that are pushing you or pressing you in a particular manner. So here's the question, and I sort of brought it up. What do you do when you make a bad choice? So you're saying, Scott, I'm trying to make good choices in my life. Maybe even have listened to all 5 of these sessions. And so you're saying, but I still made a bad choice. And I made a bad choice not too long ago. And so I know what that's like. What do you do then? I think this is what you do. You go back to the beginning. And you just apply good choices to come out of the bad choice that you made. We all make bad choices. No one makes good choices 100% of the time. No one does. That person does not exist. So the question is, what do you do when you make a bad choice? Well, here's what you do. You consult an expert. Say, yeah, I made this bad choice. What suggestions would you have for me to get out of the bad choice? You own it. You say, I made a really bad choice. I wasn't the victim. I made a bad choice. Well, and then what do? You take it serious. I'm going to really apply some seriousness to this. I'm going to start making choices today that affect my life tomorrow. And then finally, you do the last one. And that is you say, okay, God, I want your purpose more than I want my persuasions. So I'm going to discipline myself. I'm going to put my desires on the back burner. I'm going to put your purpose front and center. If you do this, you will experience God's joy in your life. Instead of dealing with the fallout of bad choices, you'll begin to experience God's blessing in the good choices. So don't forget to like and subscribe so you'll be notified about the next time we start giving some additional videos about 7 minutes of truth. God bless you. Thanks for joining me.